Hi everyone, and welcome to another one of these Homechoir behind the scenes videos. And today I thought you might want to see what goes into the creation of the title cards, those catchy little images that we put out at the front of each and every video to hopefully try and set the scene for what's about to follow, and of course to hopefully entice a few more people to click on that link. Now recently you may have noticed that the images have changed a little bit. They've gotten perhaps a little bit more elaborate, and as I'm sure many of you know from watching the channel, this means I've been using AI to help generate these images. So I thought what we'd do together is we would put together some of these title cards for you, and I'll show you the process I go through in creating them. So sit back and do enjoy, and do bear in mind that the software that I'm using today, well, some of it's free, some of it is subscription, but it's all relatively inexpensive and a lot of fun to use. So let's bring up my screen so you can see what it is that I've got on here. So billy-doo, there is my screen, and you can see I've got some things open already. This magnificent thing here, this is called Discord, and Discord is the way which we interact with Midjourney and various other AIs. And again, you've seen this if you've seen my AI content. And then over here I've got an app called Keynote. Now Keynote is basically the Apple equivalent of PowerPoint, and I'll be honest folks, I use this to do most, if not all, of the title card design because it's really quick, it's really very simple, and it's free. All right, and if we look along the side here, you can see some examples. If I go slightly larger with this, you can see here, you know, these are the title images that I've created for many, yes, there we go, many of the Homechoir episodes going right the way back for quite some time, slightly regretting starting with these. But of course, I have to create the cards for this coming summer. I might get onto that today. But you can see a real difference. If I scroll all the way to the top, you can see some of the very, very first. That's not even a particularly early one. If you click here, you can see the original Homechoir logo as designed by yours truly in the summer of 2020. And you can see some of the earlier versions here. And then you can see when it changed to the marvelous logo as designed for us by Mark Cease. And you can see some of the stuff from last year, which doesn't look quite as polished as some of the cards recently. Ah, yes, lots of cats. So you see 2021, we're going back a while here, 2022. You can see we changed from Sacred Sing to Sing Sunday, Songs of the Land. You can see where I was putting my face in here as I just go down. All of these cards, of course, all needed to be created. And it's not as if it's a particularly long and laborious process, but it does take a little bit of time. And I want to share with you how I go through this. And particularly now I'm using Midjourney and Photoshop. Well, I thought you might want to see some of what's going on. If I just click down here, you can see the choral alphabet, and each one is, of course, based on a template that I created. So it has a theme, and of course, choral alphabet will be back later in the year. There's our AI one, generated using Midjourney. As I go down, some of the popular classics. Now you can see here this image. This is a Midjourney image. And from this point onwards, you know, Here Be Dragons, you're going to see more of the Midjourney influence. These are photographs, as you can probably tell, but that's a Midjourney image. That is a photograph. So we come down here, that is a photograph. But now these are all photographs taken from my tour around the UK and Ireland. And then that's a Midjourney image. That's a Midjourney. So we start to get into Midjourney territory. So I'm going to use Midjourney for you today to just give you a sense of what we're doing. And we're going to create a couple of cards. Now, going on to the list here of everything I've got to create for. Now these are the upcoming programs. This is for the entire summer. I'm not going to try and do all of these in front of you right now, but I am going to do the last 2 episodes of term, the last 2 live streams anyway. We've got Monday, July 24th, which is stuff like The Star of the County Down, Lobachevsky, La Composita, Whiskey in the Jar. It's a folk and fun special. The Banana Boat song, In the Jailhouse Now, Mango Mango, I'm the Music Man, and the Cat Came Back. It's going to be very, very silly. So it's got to be a light-hearted theme. And then the end of term special is all sorts of things. Gaudete, Zadok the Priest, Tristis as Anima Mea, Jerusalem, My Lag and Love, a selection from the performances sent to me by you, and the Twinkle Twinkle pastiche. So lots to kind of work with there. And I'm going to go over now to Discord. I'm going to bring it over here and make it slightly larger so that you can see. And this is just step one now of the process, because the images that Midjourney creates are so good, and they are now so easy to manipulate and work with, that there's an awful lot you can do within this app. But we are also going to use something called the Photoshop Beta, which has a particularly interesting tool called Generative Fill, but more on that in a minute. Now you can see some of the images I've created recently. This was in order to create the images for some of the streams coming up, but we're going to start down here. Now, in order to use Midjourney, we have to use what's called the Imagine prompt. So when you open Discord and you have your Midjourney account, now you do get some free images. If you go to midjourney.com, you can create a free account. You then need to go to Discord. You need to connect to Midjourney, and then you type /imagine. That's your prompt, and then you type whatever it is you want to see. So our first episode I want to create for is stuff like, well, it's folk and fun, isn't it? Whiskey in the Jar, the Banana Boat Song, In the Jailhouse Now, Mango Mango. So I'm the Music Man, the cat came back. It's a sort of a musical party, isn't it? So I'm going to write a party of happy musicians singing and dancing. Now, what sort of style? If we leave it at that, it's going to create a very stylized photographic style. So actually, why don't we just play around with it as we're watching? So I'm going to leave that and see what Midjourney takes. I could say stuff like a watercolor style. I could say cartoon style. I could say in the style of a particular artist. And we might do that, actually. But other than that, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to add in a couple of additional prompts. I type -- and I say AR. That's aspect ratio. That's how wide I want the image to be, and I want to have it at widescreen, so that's 16:9. And I also want it to use the latest version of Midjourney, so it's --V space 5.2. So that makes us use the most up-to-date version of Midjourney, which is the best one so far. So I hit return, and it's going to think about it. Now, whilst it's doing that, because it takes a few moments, sometimes up to a minute to do that, I'm going to put in the same prompt, singing and dancing. But we're going to give it a little bit more guidance in terms of what we want. I think we're going to say, oh, I forgot to put Imagine in, that's a schoolboy error, /Imagine, a party of happy musicians singing and dancing in the style of Monet. It's all about the Monet. Okay, then, same again, AR 16:9 --V 5.2. So it's having a thing. You can see it's already generating this image, and it looks fun. It's going to be quite stylized. So now I'm going to go down here. I'm going to do the same thing again. Imagine party of happy musicians singing in the style of. Now this time we're going to say in a hand-drawn cartoon style. Gosh, the image above looks like a lot of fun. And I think we'll do one more. Happy musicians singing and dancing in the style of Pixar. So that's going to be CG animation sort of thing, like Toy Story or so on. So I'm going to let that generate, because otherwise it might tell me off for putting too many jobs in at once. So let's have a look at what we've got so far. So we've got the singing and dancing. So these are our 4 options. And of course, these are great. These are really, really good. What I love about some of them is once you look at them, you start to see some problems with it. On the surface, you think that's absolutely amazing, but then you look at this one down here, and you can see the guitar is really warped. This guy has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fingers. He has 5 fingers and a thumb, and it looks like a lot of fun. Goodness knows what this instrument is over here. It's a bass with 2 necks with a million hands playing on it. And there's a chap in the background who looks like some kind of Star Trek alien. The one above looks like a weird sort of... I don't know what these musicians are supposed to be, but it looks like they're all sort of mad professors or something. And again, the guitars look absolutely mad. The one bottom right, slightly better, but again, the hands are a little bit weird. And the instruments, this young person here has a a violin neck coming out of their hand, which is odd. So yeah, that one's probably unusable. And then you've got the one above, which does look like a lot of fun, but it's quite sort of male heavy, and again the instruments are a little bit odd, so that one's not so great. You'd probably want to re-roll that. So why don't we do that? We're going to hit re-roll, and let's see what comes out. So this next one here, in the style of Monet, this has not produced the style we wanted. However, I think we can see actually that the overall composition and the overall style of the pictures are much better. We still have, I don't know, I think we can get away with the number of fingers there. That looks about right on both of the lower pictures. The image at the top looks pretty convincing, although her hair's over the guitar neck, so that wouldn't make a good sound. And the neck is really long. It's more of a theobald. And then this person at the top left, I mean, she just looks happy. There's no sign of it being music. But, you know, I think we could work with some of this. I quite like the bottom left one here. These dancers, these singers rather, look like some kind of Irish band. So what we're going to do, we're going to upgrade that, and then we're going to work with a really cool new feature here. Now, the one below, this is starting to look a little bit more convincing. Party of happy musicians in a hand-drawn style. I'm not sure this is 100% what I would call hand-drawn, but you can see we're starting to get something a little bit more stylized. I like the sort of blue and orange flame. I don't know why it's decided to do that. Again, if you look closely, you can see some of the instruments look a little bit wonky. I quite like the top left one. So let's upgrade that one and work with that. And then we've got the Pixar one, which this is mad. This is fun. Again, instruments, when you start to look at them, I mean, top right, the instruments are all over the place. Top left, again, the guitar looks pretty good. Number of fingers is good, but the white guitar there is really wonky. Bottom left, I mean, it looks like a slightly demented FaceTime call from your long-lost family, doesn't it? But I think let's work with the bottom left. And so I'm going to upgrade that. So in the meantime, this one down here, and this is supposed to be in the style of Monet. It's not. But let's work with it nonetheless. Now, we could just, in the old days, that would be it. That image has been generated. But there are now some really rather nice functions where you can do things like zoom out. So I'm going to ask it to zoom out ×2. And we're going to let that generate. And, oh, in the meantime, this one, the one with all the weird instruments and so on, has regenerated. I think it's done a slightly better job here. Again, it looks... This one was the one that had the least guidance, and so this is what Midjourney thinks is a group of happy musicians singing and dancing. I think that's pretty good, actually. What have we got here? I quite like the bottom left and bottom right. I mean, they're all pretty good. Top left, the instruments look a little bit janky. Likewise, top right, the guy playing I think that's supposed to be a mandolin of some kind. Although it's only got 3 tuning pegs and goodness knows how many strings, he looks really rather alarming. So I don't think we're going to go with that one. But bottom left and bottom right, I like. So I'm going to ask for upgrades, upscales as they're called, on bottom left and bottom right. So in the meantime, we've got this one here, which is supposed to be in a hand-drawn cartoon style. Yeah, it's not brilliant. I mean, when you look at it, you see this woman here. She's playing the guitar, and this chap is sort of holding the fingerboard down, which is weird. There's a weird extra hand coming here. So what we're going to do, we're going to have vary. We're going to click very strong. I'm going to see if it can do anything with that. In the meantime, we've had this image. Again, we're going to vary that because this guitar is just not right. And oh, I've just spotted these weird sort of gelatinous fingers here. It's so daft. So let's vary that. In the meantime, let's see. We've got this image here, which I quite like. I'm not sure we're necessarily going to use it for our card, but you can see that's actually quite a decent image. This guitar here in the middle is teeny tiny compared to the one on the left, but at least, you know, everyone's got the right number of fingers. Or actually, this guy's only got 4 fingers. Well, let's vary it. I'll do very subtle this time, rather than very strong, because you've got 2 different responses. Let's check this one. I thought this one was pretty good. But again, you see, I mean, the thing is, we can use Photoshop to tweak some of these, because yes, the hands are a complete nightmare. 2 sets of hands on the guitar and 1 set of fingers is looking really shonky. So let's vary it. Very subtle. Now, let's see. Oh, now you know what? This one, now we zoomed out, now you start to get a sense of the Monet influence, because you start to get the flowers around it. I know it's not very painterly, but I do actually quite like the way this is going. Of course, in the middle, you've got our original image, but around the outside, it's generated 4 possible alternatives, like a little border. And I quite like this top one here. For a start, it's the only one with a female character in it, which is, I think, entirely right and good. So let's ask to upscale. Oh, I did the wrong one. Let's upscale number 1. And let's come back to these subtle variations and see if anything has improved. Yeah, so you can see that it's all sort of related to the same sort of idea, but now we've got subtle variations. So you check the chap on the right. You know, here he's got a long beard. He's looking really happy. Here, he doesn't have a beard and looks slightly less manic. Over here, he looks, I think, the most realistic. I like this one, though. He's looking at his instrument. This is probably my favourite of the 3. So we're going to upscale that one, and then we'll zoom out. So you see how it's actually it's quite quick. And as we go, we're starting to see things take shape, perhaps a little bit better. And the hands, you know, when it re-rolls them, you get a sense that it's actually thinking about it. This guy has still only got he's now only got 3 fingers on this hand. Which is a shame, because the rest of the image is quite nice. This one's pretty good. I think top left is pretty solid. Bottom right, still problems with the hands. Bottom right's pretty good. So let's go top left and bottom right. Upscale 1 and 4. Great stuff. So this was the one I liked. And that, you know, as an image, that's got quite a lot going for it. It's got some roses sort of floating in the air for whatever reason. That's what the AI decided to do. Let's have a look at this here. This guy in the back. I don't know what he's seen, but he looks delighted by it. Let's just see. Yeah, they've all got the right number of fingers, I think. This one needs just a little bit of a tweak here. But yeah, that's pretty solid. And so we re-rolled this group of happy musicians. And do we have any usable images here? Yeah, these guitars are really misshapen. It still hasn't worked out. Fingers and instruments. And this bottom right, the guitar neck is about half a mile long, which is hilarious. Okay, so let's, I'm going to see if I can make this just slightly larger. Let's have a look at this image that we upscaled. Okay, so this one is pretty solid. Again, it's got a random phantom hand on the neck, which is a shame. But we might be, in fact, we will be able to get rid of that using Photoshop. So what we'll do is we'll zoom out of that one. I'll zoom out 1.5%. So we don't want to have a huge border on it. Let's have a look here. So this one actually looks like the guy behind is having some fun and just sort of adding some extra chords on the guitar, which is why they're all laughing. Okay, we'll zoom out of that one, 1.5. And it's thinking about it. So you can see it's not infallible yet, but the quality of the images that it's producing is really very good indeed. Now, let's have a little look at our list. If we choose some of the songs on here, we've got The Star of the County Down, we've got Whiskey in the Jar, the Banana Boat song, Mango Mango, I Am the Music Man, The Cat Came Back. Let's just see what happens. Imagine The Cat Came Back. Let's just see what it does with that. I'm just curious. What's it going to do? And let's do the same thing. Imagine a cartoon character, or 2 cartoon characters, dancing a passionate tango. And let's see what it does with that. Okay, it's telling me off because I've done too many things at once. Okay, so it's currently zooming out and it's thinking about it. Have we got anything yet? And I think you can see, those of you that were watching my original AI programs back at the beginning of the year, will agree that this really is quite startlingly different and much more in terms of improved in terms of the quality of the images. It's still got a way to go, fingers, instruments and so on, but when you consider that this technology has gone through several iterations just in the last year, it really is going places. It's fascinating. Okay, so we zoomed out and this bottom image has added an extra person over on this side and has created some flowers here. Okay, I quite like the way these are going. Which is the best one? We're still thinking. What about this one here? Oh, that's the same one. So this one. Okay, they've added extra people on these ones on the left, but here we've got some lamps and got a window over here. I quite like this one, bottom right. So what we're going to do, just so we're not here all day looking at this particular set of images, is I'm going to upscale that and we're going to work with it in Photoshop. Now, we've also got this couple dancing a passionate tango. I like the fact that there's a guitar in there as well. That's quite funky. I quite like bottom right, actually, because it's got the guitar. Mind you, that wouldn't half get in the way. And top left is quite nice. I like the stylized side of that. So I'm going to upscale that. We can see it if I now open it in the browser. And yeah, top left, I like that. Stylized wise, it's got some shapes of dancing as the world burns sort of feel. So let's go back and let us upscale that. And we're going to work with 2 images now in Photoshop. Oh, the cat came back, has returned. Oh, I like those. The cat came back. Let's open those in the browser. This is what it's come up with. Just the prompt, the cat came back. So top left, that's a cat person. And then you've got this one, which is really interesting and really vibrant. You know, two suns in the sky, possibly 2 moons. Slightly apocalyptic. This one, I mean, goodness knows what this cat has done, but he's looking like he's regretting his actions. And then you've got some kind of steampunk sci-fi cat, all of which are genuinely interesting and really. I love the top right though, partly because it looks like a dear little cat that I had once. So I think I'm going to upscale that one for my dear little Millie, bless her. Right, so let's upscale that one. So now we've got the couple dancing a tango. Let's drag that one to the desktop. We're going to work with that. There, that's the one. And if we now go to, so we're going to work with 3 images in total in Photoshop. We're going to work with this marvelous cat came back image. And we want the group of happy people singing and dancing, even though they're not actually dancing. And we've got extra fingers to deal with, but let's I have to open it in browser first. So I've created these images in Midjourney with prompts and I've zoomed out and varied them. So now what I do is I go over here. I'm going to put that down there and we're going to right click on the image. I'm going to open it with Photoshop Beta. Now this is a subscription app. I think it's about £10 a month to use this, but it is genuinely phenomenal. Now, if you've never used Photoshop before, I'm not going to turn this into a Photoshop tutorial. Suffice it to say that Photoshop is the industry standard for manipulating images, but it's never seen anything quite like this. We are going to zoom in a bit so we can see a bit more. And once we have done that, do that should do it. There we go. So we can see the cat a bit more. Now what I want to do is, at the moment it's a square image and that's no good for our title cards, which are in widescreen 16:9. So I'm going to come back slightly and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to canvas size. At the moment it's 1024 pixels by 1024 pixels, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand horizontally the canvas size. So I'm going to leave it as it is here. And I'm going to make it twice as wide, nearly as. Let's make it 1900 by 1024. Boom. So at the moment we've got white borders. Still wouldn't be any good for our image. But this is where Photoshop's new function just has blown everyone away, because it's managed to incorporate AI into Photoshop. So all I do is I select the part of the image that I want to generate, and I can tell it what I want to see. But I can also just click Generative Fill and it will work out from the image approximately what's going on. So if I now click generate, it's analysing the image, it's analysing what I've asked it to fill in, and it's going to use its AI to have a guess at 3 possible fills. Now, I mean, that's its first try. And I'm sure you agree, that's pretty impressive. If I now click here, this is another version, and this is another version. So it's done 3 possible fills. And which one do I prefer? I actually prefer the second one because it frames the cat. So it's a darker outline here. So that's the first one. Looks slightly disturbing there. That's the second one, darker, and then that one's more sort of rocky. That works as well. Let's leave it at the rocks, actually. And then I'm going to do the other side. So I'm going to pop out again. And all I'm doing is selecting, click Generative Fill, and then again, generate. And then we wait. We have a sip of drink. Tum-ti-tum. And we will see what it comes up with. There we go. I mean, whoa. It did it while I wasn't looking. And I mean, if I turn it off, remember, that's what it was before. It's worked out that there's a house there, and it's finished the house. There's another version. There's another version. Oh, those are all really good. So that's slightly gothic. Let's zoom in so you can see slightly better. That one's a bit more gothic. That one's not quite as detailed. And then that one looks a little bit more sort of futuristic, but some of the sky is a bit janky there. I like number 1. How about that? So there's the cat came back. Now, of course, you might think, well, that's brilliant, let's export it. But I think we could do even better. I quite like the fact the cat is where it is. But if we put Homechoir and the cat, the cat's not positioned very well in that image. So what we can do is we can do that again. We can go to canvas size. I'm going to lock the canvas here by using this thing. So all I want to do is to keep this have this as the bottom left-hand side of the image. And so I want the cat to be sort of down in the bottom left. So I want to generate stuff. So I want it to be, let's say, 2,600 wide by 1,400 tall. So that's our canvas. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this side first. Generative Fill. I don't want to tell it what to do. I can tell it what to do, and it'll do a reasonable job. But I prefer to just let it work it out for itself. So, okay, so it's done a sort of mirror image. That was not so good. Let's see what it's done for the next one. That's okay. Okay, so it's not enjoyed that. So let's have it do it again. And if this doesn't work, this might be pushing it a little bit far. Then there's a way that we can get it to do what we want. Okay, so that's not very good. Okay, so it's not enjoying this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disregard that. I'm going to get rid of that. And we're going to try up here. Remember, this is new technology. So if it doesn't work first time, try something else. So we're going to do the top first. Okay, because I think it struggled with the fact that there was white space above. So this, instead, will continue the image, hopefully, to the very top of the window. Okay, not bad. That's pretty good. Let's move this thing out of the way. I like that. And that's pretty good as well. Slightly janky up here, but we'll work on that in a minute. So now let's, in fact, let's do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select the bit that doesn't look so good here. And I'm going to ask it to just do that bit again. And because it's got a bit more context, it's got stuff around it that I like, it might do a better job. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. I spend my life waiting for bars to go from left to right. Here we go. And boom. Not bad. Bit blurred. Okay, I think let's have that one. It's nice and simple. So now this should give this Generative Fill a better idea of what the image can be if it's continued then to the right. And this, of course, has all been generated from one prompt. The cat came back. That's not bad, actually. I quite like that. That's pretty good. Let's go for that one. Now, there's a very obvious line. Don't know if you can see it. Let's zoom in. There's a very obvious line here, which, just spoils the flow of the picture. So watch this. I'm just going to select the line. And I don't need to select layers. It's taking it all as one image. So I now go Generative Fill. Don't tell it what to do. It knows that this is not quite right. And again, it's going to give me 3 alternatives so I can choose what I want to see. So let's see. There we are. It's like it was never there. That's the first one. That's the second. That's the third. Which do we prefer? I think I like the little light there, but that's probably the most together of all the images. So there is our cat image. The cat came back, everyone. Isn't that amazing? All generated. And just to remind you where it came from, that is what Midjourney came up with. And now Photoshop, with a little bit of prompting from me, has created that, a scene. And so if I now go over here and I say export, quick export as PNG, so I'm going to make this slightly larger, full size. And it will now export it, which means it's going to create that as a flat image. And there it is. That is the image for the cat came back. Let's see what it can do with one of the others. Let's get the tango image now. Okay, so just as before, we're going to make this bigger. And I quite liked it when the image was kind of off to one side, because that means on the other side we can put Homechoir, we can put the title and the date and so on. So let's have these dancers there on the right, so that because there's a sense that the man is standing and he's kind of creating a bit of framing. So let's have the dancers on the right of the image, and I'm going to put this, I'm going to lock it down here. And so I'm going to say width 2200, so it's more than double, and height, actually let's go 2400 pixels, slightly wider, and height wise we'll go 1400. And okay, so there we are. Straight away it's just created that extra, and that's not quite the way it did, so I'm going to undo that. I went the other side, that way. 2414. There we go. So now I'm going to do what I did before. Now I've learnt from last time, if I just select this bit, it's not going to go well. But if I select the bit above to kind of create the image all the way to the top, I can then fill to the left, and it will do, I think, a better job. So let's generate the fill. And I'm not telling it, I'm not giving it any guidance. I'm just saying, look at the image and you work out how this should go. And it's absolutely amazing. And this is so new. This has only been out for a matter of weeks. As soon as I saw it, I thought we've got to do it. So that's not great. That's a bit better. Let's move the thing out the way. You can see there's a little bit of missing stuff at the top, which we can fill in just a minute, and that's rubbish. So let's go for the second one. Although it's not perfect, let's now select the stuff that's blank. Again, we'll generate, not telling it what to do. And you can see an obvious line, which we'll sort out in a minute. So now, there we are, it's filled that in. Now I'm just going to grab that join, which is not very good. Can I fill it? Right, there we are, nice and smooth. Let's just check that. I prefer the second one. If I just zoom in so you folks can see. So this is without it. You can see there's a nasty line going across. This is with. So that's the first one. That's the second. That's the third. Oh, I quite like the third one. Okay, we'll keep the third one. So now this is the biggest challenge so far, because more of the image is blank than is filled in. So let's see what it does. I'm really curious to see this. Generative Fill, go. And this is the kind of thing that I've just dreamed of when I was a young designer, because this saves so much time. This allows anyone, regardless of their experience, their background, to create something that looks really interesting visually. Ooh, I like that second one. And that works too, actually. I like the empty space. Actually, I think I prefer that of all of them. Though that's really quite nice. It just, I think I prefer the first one. I don't like too many light sources. It draws the eye. That one, I think that would work quite well as a Homechoir card. We'd need to do some work on some of the lighting. But this one, again, the earth in the top, I think we want to get rid of that. In fact, let's see what happens when we fill that area. So you've just got a lot of empty space, and that draws the eye down to the bottom right where the characters are, and then you've got lots of space to put Homechoir and end of term special, or well, La Composita, which is what this is, obviously. Let's see if it gets the message. No, I literally just want to have, that's nice. Second one there. So there's a little bit of light. There's still a line along here, which I'm going to get rid of. It's picked that up. Just it's got the idea from the little bit of line that was left from the first generation. So we're just going to fill that in. And there's another bit just here at the edge, which I shall just use Generative Fill on. There we are. It's like it was never there. Good. And let's do this little bit here. And then we've got a really nice tango related image, which would work very nicely as a title card. And we'll do one more. We'll do these, the party of people laughing. There we are. If I just zoom in, we can see we've got our dancers. Just check, yep, they've got the right number of fingers. And we've got this sort of petal fiery thing over here. And the eye is drawn to the dancers. You can put Homechoir over here. Let's export that. 2 cartoon characters dancing a tango, full size. And last but not least, we're going to work with this. Okay, so this is going to be a real interesting one because this is, you know, this is almost photographic quality in some of the cases. Now, we do have a little bit of interest here with the fingers, in that there are a lot of fingers. But I wonder, let me see, I wonder what happens if I select this person's hand and just click Generative Fill. Will it work out that it's supposed to be a hand? And will it be an improvement, or will it just be awful? Is this something I haven't tried before? Oh, that's... Well, the blur is better than the janky fingers. Oh, okay. That's interesting. So at least it's the right number of fingers, and it doesn't look too bad. Let's do the same thing with this hand here. Now, interestingly, I don't know if you spotted, but there was a warning. So one of these images was removed because it violates the guidelines, which means it probably generated something a little bit suggestive. And it's quite careful not to do that. In fact, if it's even the slightest hint that it's going to generate something that could be considered inappropriate, it will just remove it. Well, that's not bad. Let's have it do it again. And you can see this is all just really quick. You might think, gosh, the bar takes a little bit of time. Consider what it's doing. It's working out. Yeah, there we go. Generated images were removed because they violate user guidelines. In other words, it's generated something it shouldn't. I think that will do. Now, we've got a large black bar at the top here, which I'd like to fill in. Let's see if we can do the whole thing. This is quite a challenge for it. Okay, can it fill in this black bar at the top and keep the top of the head, keep the top of the hat? This is pushing the limits a little bit here. So let's see. Come on, Photoshop, we believe in you. Wow. I mean, that is... I'm gobsmacked at that. Look at that. So this is without. It's actually done a better job of the hair, I think. Let's have a look at another one. And another one. the poofy hat. I think I like the second one best. Look at it. It's filled in. So this is without. So it's generated the top of the walls and the top of the lamp light. And it's kept the light source absolutely right. I mean, that is brilliant. So we've got a bit of a gap down here, but I think we can work with that. Okay, so if we wanted to make this into a Homechoir image, again, we'd want a bit more, wouldn't we? Because otherwise this is all going to, you're going to put the Homechoir logo over people's faces. Although you could put it up here in the top right, and you could have the writing down here at the left. But I think what I'm going to do is to, because everyone's kind of facing to the left, that's going to be where the focus of the image is going to be, which is obviously going to be the Homechoir logo. So somewhere over here, we want, now there's a hint of a person. I don't want a person in this part of the image. I just want a window or something. So I'm going to see if it can actually write over what Midjourney put in, and just see if we can just have a window and whatever that is, flowers, and then we can continue with that. Oh, it's done exactly what I wanted first time. Look at that. Zoom in again. Look at that. So the person that was just hinted at being there is now gone. There it is originally. And that would have created a person, but I don't want a person. I want a nice window, a bit of empty space in which we can put the Homechoir logo. So let's go back, and we're going to go canvas size again. We're going to lock it to the bottom left, so everything that's going to be created is going to go above and to the right. So we're going to go width, let's go 2000, height 1300, so we get a square image. And we're going to continue off this way first. Generate. Now that's not so good. Okay. It's not enjoyed that. Right, let's leave it at that one and then continue, because it's got the idea that it's a window, whereas the others it thinks it's a wall or something. So let's use the best one it did to generate some more. Not bad. Weird. Goodness knows what that is. Okay, I think we're going to leave those and come back. Let's try having it go up instead and see if it can work out that that's supposed to be a window. And if not, there is another technique which we haven't looked at yet, which is to actually tell it what's supposed to be there. Not great. Interesting. Weird. One more. We are asking a lot of it at this point. So if this doesn't work, I'm going to try the technique of actually asking it to generate something. Not bad. Bizarre. Okay, so let's generate one more time, and let's cancel that. Let's add a prompt. A dark ceiling. The top of a window. Let's see if it can work out which bit's supposed to be which. And it's whether it is stylistically in keeping with the rest of the image. Okay, so it's done a weird window there. Okay. Now that's probably the best we're going to get. So let's get rid of that little line. And of course we can add to this, but that is the most likely, I think, of all the images so far. Certainly the left-hand side of the image looks actually really quite decent. Good, so it's fixed the line. Now let's go over here. Generative Fill, I'm going to say a large window covered with rain. So this is where we're giving it more specific guidance, a bit more like Midjourney in the beginning. But remember, all of these images all come from... So I like the second one. It's unusual. It doesn't quite work in terms of the angles of it. Let's ask it to generate one more time and see if we can get something that is a little bit better. But that one, I think we could work with that. Not bad. Maybe we say, rather than large window, just a window covered with rain. I think the fact I've told it to be a large window has meant it's then become dominating. That's weird. That's weird. Okay. I think the best of all of them is this one. So yeah, I think that's as good as we're going to get with that one. Let me export it. And I've got 3 to choose from for my broadcast. So there we are. That's Photoshop. Now we go back to our images here, and you can see some of these have gone down. That's a Midjourney image. So's that. These are all generated. So was that. So let's go. Let's find one of these images. So there's the cat came back. There's Mango, which obviously was Midjourney. Let's use that one. So I'm going to copy it. And we can see here the actual image itself is quite a lot larger. So I'm going to grab, let's start off with the party of people. And we're going to pop that in. like this. We're going to make it bigger. Make it more about the people here. I like the flowers in the foreground, that's a nice touch. Okay, now I can go up here and I say I want it to go back in terms of layers. Now there's a little bit of a fader here which I use. I'm going to make this bigger so you can see it in more detail. So that, you know, things like the titles are clearer. So I'm just going to rotate that so that it covers more of the bottom right than the bottom left, because the title is going to go over here. I'm going to send that back, there we go, and again, so that the title's not obscured. I'm going to call it End of Term Sing Along. I'm going to make this text slightly smaller. We'll just have Sing Online for that one. So there that is. Now in terms of the colour scheme, I'm not sure that colour scheme works so well with this. Lots of orange already in the image. We want a nice friendly colour. At the moment we've got an ambient gradient fill, so we can go sort of from cyan up. In fact, I need to select the whole thing in order to affect everything. Magenta, purple, orange, blue. Blue doesn't work, it's too dark. So if we go for more of a yellow at the bottom, and let's go for a, doesn't quite go with the colours of the image, it's a bit lurid. So let's go for the orange at the top and the yellow at the bottom. End of term sing along, that's quite nice. And then this colour up here, I think we should change the colour of the background to more of a, what colour should we have here? At the moment it's white, yellow, red, purple, orange. Actually, let's be bold. Let's get rid of that. Let's put that up here. Let's put the shading slightly round at this angle. And in order to make it pop, because now we've moved up into the dark area, I'm going to make this bit white. So now it stands out against the background a bit more, and we can be even more strict with what we're doing and actually add an outline so it pops there. End of term sing along. There is our first possible title card. And I'm going to now just grab that. Now that's our first. Now let's go for the tango one, and that should just be a matter of popping the image in here and just making it the right size. And yeah, that image looks so good. So now we just grab this, put it down here. We need to change the colour of the text, obviously, because at the moment it's completely the wrong colour scheme. So let's see if we can pick up one of the colours. We're going to use the dropper here. And let's go for the nice fiery red at the top. It's got to be more of a yellow, hasn't it? Oh, need to select the whole thing rather than just one. So again, we're going to use the eyedropper and we'll go for that colour. It's a little bit too dark, I think. So let's go for more of the red. In fact, what we can do is to go for the colour wheel here. We can turn up the brightness. Now that is a nice image. End of term sing along. How about that? So we'll grab that. You see, this is why I use Keynote, because it's so quick. And then finally, last but not least, I think probably my favourite of all the images, whether it's appropriate for the end of term sing along, it looks far more appropriate for something like Gamechoir. But there is our cat came back image, and we pop that into the place so the cat is where they need to be, and we can pop that end of term sing along. And I think the red is the wrong colour. We want that nice rich orange, don't we? that we can see. So again, we're going to use the paint, we're going to use the dropper, we're going to select that orange there. Click there, and we'll get the darker. Good, and now we need to just open the color wheel, make it slightly brighter. It does look a bit dirty and a bit sort of depressing, doesn't it? So let's go for a slightly brighter shade. It's sort of over there at the moment, so we're going to turn that up. We're going to turn the opacity all the way. And at this point, it is just a matter of what colour is going to be the most appealing. But the actual hard work is done. The image itself is fantastic. There we go. Slightly brighter colour, making it pop against the background. And there is our title card. So one more time, just going to grab that image. And I've got 3 Homechoir cards here. I've got that one. We've got that one. And we've got that one. And all of them were generated from scratch, as you saw, using a combination of Midjourney, accessed here through Discord, with all of these amazing images, some of which were more amazing than others, and then worked on using Photoshop Beta in order to create these final cards. And one of them will be the end of term sing-along image. Not sure which one. They're all really good. I think of the 3, my 2 favourites are the tango and the cat. And I don't know, I think the tango's got more of an appeal, though. I will be sad if we don't use the cat image in some way. So, ladies and gentlemen, I do hope you enjoyed that little behind the scenes video, something a bit different, something whilst we're off the air to just keep you thinking about Homechoir and enjoying what we do, and bearing in mind that this is what we do all the time. This is what we do every week when we're generating this content for you. So if you fancy having a go, Midjourney is free up to a certain point. Then there is a subscription to pay, but it is going to be the most unbelievably exciting frontier for new art and development. And of course, then Photoshop will take any image. It doesn't have to be AI. It can be something you've drawn and can then extend it using AI. So, you know, the future is very interesting indeed. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day. Whatever you have planned, may go extremely well. And we'll see you very soon. Take care, everyone.